Hello everybody, I'm sorry it's been so long since my last video, but I've been very busy with work and finally the summer holidays are here, so I'm able to do another video for a distribution that I've been running recently that I've been given a new look to. I tried it in the past, didn't particularly like it, but the new releases that have been coming along over the last couple of months have been absolutely stellar. So I've decided that I am quite a big GNOME fan. I didn't used to be. I used to think it was awful, but now that it seems to have matured, and since roughly GNOME 3.10, I think it's really started to hit stride, and I'm a big fan of the releases. Unfortunately, you are kind of limited to which distros you can run it on, hassle-free, let's say. So, yes, Ubuntu GNOME will work, but you are stuck to GNOME 3.14 at the moment. There always seem to be a release behind, so by the time Ubuntu 15.10 comes out, you might be able to get 3.16, but everyone else will be running 3.18. And that to me is just annoying. You can install a PPA to get the latest thing, but then I just ran into several breakages and problems. Arch is another one that you can go with, although installing Arch, although I've done it before, it is a faff, and a lot of people say to try Antergos, but yes, you are almost running pure Arch there, and I just don't like the problems that I was getting with some packages from running pure Arch, and I was always worried that it was going to break. I then tried PC Linux OS, didn't really like it, it seems to be a bit outdated, and rolling is the way that I can see myself going. So then I thought, well, let's give Manjaro a bash. Now, this version was released today. I have been using the 0.8.11 release and then had to manually update it to 13. The reason for this is that Manjaro officially support the XFCE desktop, the KDE desktop, and a net edition, which is a minimal edition that doesn't install any desktop environment. Now you can see here we have the GNOME icon, we have the LXDE icon, and the Mate or Mate icon as well, but these are smaller, and the reason these are smaller is because these are made by the community. Now they are very stable, but they are made by the community, and that means there tends to be a delay of when you get them. Now, if you do want to install the GNOME version, which is the one that I particularly like, you want to go down here to the stable repository, the community, and then GNOME. Now, the one that I have been using is this one here, which is the 0.8.11 release, and then having to manually update, which was actually quite a pain because none of the GPG keys would work, and I was just getting error after error. Now later on in the video I will show you how to fix that if that's happened to you, and also just how to be aware of it for if it happens in a future release, because as you see, this was released in December and we're now in August, whereas the official releases have been coming a lot more frequently. But yesterday, I think it was, 12th of August, the new version came out. Now this says it was modified on the 20th of July. That's the snapshot that was used, but I'm telling you it did not come out until August. So you click the download, you download the ISO, you can see it's been quite popular at the moment, and you should be good to go. It's about 1.6 gig in size. Now, why do I like this version? Well, here we can see we have GNOME, the latest GNOME in here. We have the latest LTS kernel. It's not the latest kernel, but it's the latest LTS one. Systemd is all running nicely. We have the latest Firefox that we can get. 40 has been released, but it's not actually in the repositories yet. It's not in the Arch repository yet either. So as soon as that comes out, it will come onto the system. Why Manjaro over Arch? Well, Manjaro does seem to be a bit more stable. There's more testing that goes on of the packages before they're released, so there is a delay. It's usually only a delay of up to a week, but there is a slight delay, which I'm quite happy with. When I was running Arch, I kept seeing bugs where if you'd update to the latest kernel, it could actually ruin your hard drive if you were using an SSD. There was a problem there, and it hadn't got found for a couple of days. Luckily I hadn't updated, but that was a bug that I could have easily run into, whereas Manjaro's delay of a bit longer I think is a good thing. Yes, you are still getting packages that are a heck of a lot newer than most of the distributions out there, but there is some degree of testing. It's not going to be perfect, but anything's better than nothing in my in my opinion. I also like that some of the tweaks that they've done and some of the packages that they choose to install are quite nice. Now, Manjaro isn't going to be for the Linux newbie. There may be things that you have to tweak, but I've found that there's a heck of a lot less things, a lot less hassle that I'm getting on this than I was with my Arch installation, and it's a hell of a lot quicker to install. So, without further ado, I'm going to run you through the installation process, because it's a little tiny bit different to things that we've seen in the past, and then we'll show you the live distribution running on bare metal. Okay, so here we are in the live CD, so we get this nice little pop-up, and we can go straight to the install from here. We can go to the chat room, or the wiki, or the readme. So I'm just going to go to install Manjaro, and you get a choice of the GUI version or the command line version. So let's go to the GUI version. There we go, and pretty standard. Forward. One thing that I did find on my machine, and I don't know if this is just for me, but if I used the number pad on my keyboard, it completely crashed the installation, just fell back to a kernel panic and a terminal. But as long as I didn't use the number pad and I used normal button keys, these ones that are normally at the top of your keyboard, it was fine. I don't know if that happens in this version, but at the moment I don't really want to have to tempt fate. So everything's connected. Let's go forward. Now you get a couple of options, so you can erase all the data on the disk, encrypt it, use an LVM. You could have it set your home as a different partition or volume, or you can go through the normal partition options. Now, as I'm not planning on using this version, I've already got it installed on my main machine. I'm just going to do the standard installation. Okay, and we will install now. Yes, do. Okay, so start filling in. And forward. Okay, now this is going to take me through the rest of the installation, so we'll get all the nice little slideshows, and I will return to the video once all this is finished. Okay, so here we are back in my main system. I do have some extensions running. I have tweaked this out a bit and installed a few different programs. I'm not going to go through how to do all of that because it's not really Manjaro specific, but if anyone would like to know how I've got this all set up and all the different extensions that I use, pop a comment in the comment section below, and I'll be willing to do that. But I don't really want to have to do a video that no one is interested in watching, so just let me know, please. Okay, so this is almost what you get as stock. You don't get this background and you don't get these extensions, but you do get all of this software, or most of this software. I've actually installed back in time myself to back all my settings up and things like that. But most of this, including the games, not Steam, I've manually installed that, but that was ridiculously easy to do, and I'll show you in a second. Most of this comes as stock. Okay, now the first thing I want to show you on here is, yes, you have your normal GNOME settings, but you also get this Manjaro settings, which requires root access. So here we go. Now in here you don't have a massive amount of options, but what you do have here is kernel. So here we can see a list of all the kernels that are available. Now I did have kernel 3.16.7.15-1 installed because that was the one that came with the old version of Manjaro that I'd originally installed. You open this, you click install on whichever version you want, and you can update your kernel. It will make a setting in the grub menu for you to go back if you need to. Under advanced settings, you can go back to your original kernel if there is a massive problem, and it keeps all of your kernels unless you manually remove them, which I've actually done for this one. It's 3.18 is the LTS, and it's the recommended installation as well. As soon as the LTS of the 4.x releases comes out, I'll be upgrading to there, but at the moment I'm quite happy with this version that I have here. So that's a nice way of updating your kernel, and it makes it a lot more, well, I think it's a lot simpler, and you can actually quickly get to all the change logs and things like that. Another thing that's in the Manjaro settings, which is nice, is under hardware detection, we get the different video drivers. Now, rather than go through here and have to manually find it in PacMat, you just click auto install either open source, which is installed by default, or auto install the proprietary driver, which is what I clicked. It quickly installs it, takes about 2 or 3 minutes depending on your internet connection, and then reboot the system and you're running on the proprietary driver. I was having a few problems with Steam in that I could get it installed no problem, and when I clicked here it wouldn't load, and it was because I didn't have the proprietary driver installed. I installed that, rebooted, clicked this icon, it worked no problem. One thing that annoys me slightly, and it's more of a problem with GNOME, is that this looks like I've got Steam installed twice. This is the Steam app, this is the Steam cleans out the cache and things like that app, and it's difficult to tell the difference between the two, which is why I usually stick it in the favourites bar like that, so that I always have a copy of it. Right. Okay, so Manjaro is based on Arch, but it uses the Arch mirrors and repository, and it uses its own set of packages, its own repository as well. And Manjaro tends to hold back some features and some updates. They tend to test for at least a week before they release them, which gives you a slightly more stable system than you would have running pure Arch. Now, some people disagree with that and say, well, how can the devs keep up with tech in all packages? And the answer is, well, they can't check all packages, I suppose, but they now have quite a big group of volunteers which will test as many packages as possible before they're released. And they tend to be released on a Monday. You tend to get a big release every Monday of lots and lots of different packages, and then other things dribble out throughout the week. Mainly, though, through the AUR through the week, and I'll come back to that in a minute. So, if we go to the software installation, which is on here, it's called PAMAC, and remove software, there we go. This is something that you don't normally get on Arch, although it is possible to install it. It didn't used to be, but it is now. So this is all of the software that you can install from the repositories and from the AUR, but let's just turn that off for a second. So let's say I wanted to install Steam. There we go, Steam-Manjaro installs very, very quickly and then pulls everything down from the web that it needs, and it works flawlessly in my test case. But let's say I wanted something else. Maybe I wanted a Steam driver or something more specific. I could search the AUR by turning the tab on and then scrolling down, and now I can find all of this stuff that would normally be in the AUR, and it tells me there. Okay, for anyone that doesn't know, the AUR is the Arch user repository, so things are put in the AUR that are compiled by normal users and devs, and then you install it at your own risk. But this is able to track any updates which which Yoast doesn't normally do. So this is quite nice. So if I did want to install this XPad DKMS, for example, I would click install, I would click the tick, it would say it needs to build it, and then it opens a mini terminal in here, and then it asks me questions, and it's just things like, do you want to install it? Yes, I do. Okay, put your password in. Okay, proceed with installation, yes, and then it would install it. Now I'm going to put no because I don't actually want to install that package, and then we would normally click close. If you were installing something that's not from the AUR, so say you were installing, let's not do Steam, let's do something quite easy. I'm trying to think what I haven't actually got installed on this system at the moment. Let's say we just want it. Well, I don't want anything from the AUR, do I? So HexChat, for example. Oops, HexChat. There we go. So I want to install HexChat. I click install, click the tick, install. Yes, okay. Enter my password. Done. That was it. There was no building to do. It's all done like a normal package manager. I want to remove it. Click remove. Click the tick. Yes, I want to remove it. Done. Nice and simple. Now, I will say that Manjaro gives you a couple of options here. While PAMAC, which is what this one is quite nice. so this is PAMAC 2.3.3.2, there is something called Octopi. Now, Octopi is written in Qt, and it's more, you usually get Octopi when you install the KDE versions of Manjaro. But it is a nice little GUI as well. It has its downsides, just like PAMAC does. I will say that if you are installing Octopi, you do want to install Octopi Notifier, otherwise you won't get any notifications of any updates. I'm not going to bother because I'm only going to show you this one. I'm probably going to keep PAMAC for a while. The thing I don't like about PAMAC is that if I'm looking for something like Octopi and then I want to look in the AUR, I have to go back and I have to hit enter for it to do another search, which isn't the end of the world, but it can be annoying. Or if I'm looking for something like simple scan, for example, and I wasn't sure if it was one word or two, and I do that, it's not going to find it. However, if I hit simple, after enter again, it will do another search, and it's going to search all of the AUR as well. If, however, I run Octopi, OCT, so if I run this, the nice thing about this is as I type, it searches for me, and I see, oh no, I've made a mistake there. Oh, and my keyboard key seems to have got stuck as well. There we go. Right, oops. So simple, and then PLE dash. There we go. That's how it's spelled. Okay, I quite like that it searches for me as I'm typing. What's not so good is if I am typing, say, symbol and I want to check the AUR, and I click here, this little alien icon, I now have to type it all in again, and it only searches when I hit enter. Does the search, and there we go. Now, something I do like about this is all of these packages are only in the AUR, so I can tell the difference very quickly, whereas in PAMAC they kind of mix them together. So each application has its ups and downs. Like I said, this one's written in Qt, PAMAC's written for GTK. I think I'm going to stick with PAMAC for a bit longer and just see how that one goes. But they're much of a muchness overall. They just have their tiny own little what's the word I'm looking for? Intricacies that you have to get used to. So, right. Well, other than that, that's pretty much most of the system talked about. I mean, it's like I said, it should be slightly more stable in Arch. I'm not as worried, although I have set up some snapshot and backups just in case of my root file system. I am looking forward to not having to update every few months, and I'm hoping that this is one that I can stick with. If I get bored of the desktop environment, I'll just download another one. I shouldn't have to reinstall, which is going to be different for me. If I do hit any show-stopping bugs, I will let you know how you can fix them or what the problems are that you need to avoid. One more thing that I will show you, VirtualBox can be an absolute swine to get working on Manjaro unless you know the little tricks. So if I go here to my add remove software, okay, if we type in, let's turn off the AUR for now. If we type in VirtualBox, you'll see there are a lot of packages. The ones you need are VirtualBox, the extensions if you need them. You definitely need the extensions if you want USB 3 support, because that's now available in VirtualBox 5. The guest ISO is probably what you're going to need if you want to install guest editions. And then if we scroll up here, you will see I have Linux 3.1.8 VirtualBox host modules. You need the host modules that match your kernel. Okay, now you can check that in Manjaro settings, or there's an easier way to do it, which is if you open the terminal and type in uname-a, it will give you this number here. So this is kernel 3.18. So I need Linux 3.1.8. If I have kernel 4.1, I need Linux 4.1. You must make sure you install this. You don't have to bother with the guests module if you're not bothered. I'm not actually sure myself what that does, but I do know that without the host module you're not going to be running any virtual machines whatsoever. Once you've installed them, a lot of people are saying that it still doesn't work because they've installed it and they've opened VirtualBox. It's not there, and the reason it's not there is that you haven't got the kernel host module installed properly yet. There's two ways of doing it. One is from a terminal with a command that I cannot remember off the top of my head. The other one is much simpler. Just reboot your machine. Once you've rebooted, it will work. Okay, your virtual machines will fire up and you should be good to go, just like you were on other distributions. So there's a little tip of a major problem that I ran into. Other than that, everything seems to have gone very well. So I'm looking forward to running it for a while, and I'll try and keep you up to date of any major problems if and when they arise. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Speak to you later.